Hello everyone, welcome to CNA, the daily newspaper analysis. So today we are back with the following content of list. So before starting, I just want to convey you all a message that if you want to join our program as well as our avail the offers, do join the WhatsApp group as well as the Telegram group given in the link in the comment section below. So now let's start with today's analysis. The first topic is about China's Belt and Road Initiative. So now, recently, a virtual meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was held, and it was attended by our External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar. So, the man, that is the External Affairs Minister, recently responded to the SCO meeting, and he said about that the connectivity projects should respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the member states and also respect the international law. And he said this in respect of the Chinese reference to the BRI, that is the Belt and Road Initiative. So we all know about the BRI. So what is this BRI? So more than 100 countries signed agreements with China to cooperate in the BRI projects like railways, ports, highways, and other infrastructural development. So it was announced by the Chinese President Xi Jinping-led regime in 2013, which encompassed 5 kind of activities. एक क्या है? Policy coordination. दूसरा क्या है? Trade promotion. तीसरा क्या है? Physical connectivity. चौथा क्या है? renminbi internationalization and people to people context. तो ये जो 5 बेसिक कैटेगरीज है तो यहाँ पे डिवाइड किया गया था BRI के द्वारा. So now this BRI will enhance the route as well as the old age economic or the Silk Route, and even it reaches out to Eurasia, including a link via Myanmar to India. So ये maritime Silk Road का यूज करेंगे, ठीक है. So in this way every other country is totally coming towards for enhancing this BRI. तो अभी इसी के रेस्पॉन्स में यहाँ पे हम लोग के जो एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर साहब हैं उनके द्वारा यहाँ पे बयान दिया गया है, बिकॉज दिस BRI even converts the area of the CPEC which passes through our disputed territorial in this POK area. So यहाँ पे उनके द्वारा और 2-3 बात बोला गया है कि like more trade through Iran Chabahar ports and the international north-south transport corridor is to improve bilateral trade with the Central Asian countries. So now today if I see India's total trade with the SCO members is only hardly around $141 billion. Okay, लेकिन इसका potential बहुत ज़्यादा है. So amongst the SCO countries, India's large amount of trading is done only with China, which crossed around 100 billion this year. So India is looking for a greater cooperation with these SCO member states on countering the food crisis, particularly with the millets, because the recent food crisis is directly caused by the Ukrainian war. And there is a need for better connectivity in the SCO region built on the interest of the Central Asian states, which will unlock the respective potential of the region, because we all know that the Central Asian nations are a purely landlocked nation. तो ये चाइना का जो BRI रूट है which is also connect the Central Asian nation is also very important for the respective stance with the BRI. So अभी यहाँ पे stand क्या है इंडिया का with respective to this BRI? See, it is a series of infrastructural projects that will pass through Pakistan, Afghanistan and Central Asia, and India has refused to join this BRI, citing its sovereign regions. So India on the other hand is looking for an alternative route to BRI and an alternative freight route through Pakistan. And for this, India has been developing and promoting the Chabahar port and the terminal which is known as Shahid Beheshti terminal, which will link through the INSTC, that is the International North-South Transport Corridor. ठीक है. तो अभी यहाँ पे जो concerns बताया गया है about this BRI, तो यहाँ पे बोला गया है कि like as soon as ये BRI करो तुम, मेरे को कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, लेकिन it should not hurt the sentiments of the sovereign nations in this respective area. Okay, तो यहाँ पे यही बोला गया है. Now coming to the next one, Marghar Dham. ठीक है. So you can see this dham. So here I could directly say that this Marghar Dham is a very important area where Modi calls for roadmap to develop this dham as a global tribal destination. Okay, because the Prime Minister of the Modi will pay tribute to the unsung heroes of the Bhil tribal community during his visit to this dham, which is basically in Rajasthan's Banswara district. What is the very significance of this Manghar Dham? It is known for the massacre of the tribals that took place 6 years before Jallianwala Bagh, and is also sometimes referred to as the Adivasi Jallianwala. So British forces killed around hundreds of Bhil tribals on the very date of November 17, 1913. ये बहुत important date है, याद रखना. ठीक है? So this is basically in the hills of Manghar on the border of Rajasthan and Gujarat. And जो मैंने बोला आपको कि like it's directly located in the district of the Gujarat Rajasthan border, जो हम लोग बोलते हैं अभी बांसवाड़ा district. So social reformer Govind Guru led the gatherings of this tribal and forest dwellers in 1913 in this area of Manghar against the British. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे ब्रिटिश आके पूरे एरिया में गोलीबारी शुरू कर दिए और बहुत लोगों को यहाँ पे मार दिया गया है. वो बेसिकली बिलोंग्स टू द भिल ट्राइबल ग्रुप. तो ये भिल ट्राइबल ग्रुप्स कौन से होते हैं? सो दिस वर्ड भिल इज derived from the word व्हील, VEEL, व्हील, which means bow, BOW in the Dravidian language. So this Bhil tribe is called Dhanush Purush of India because they are highly adaptable of learning Dhanush. So they are a group of tribal Indians scattered throughout India from Gujarat in the west to Tripura in the far east. And as of 2013, we could see that they were the largest tribal group in India, with the majority living in the states of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Chhattisgarh. So these Bhils have got some of the rich and unique culture, and the Vilala subdivision is known for its Pithora painting. Okay, so we can see one very important traditional folk dance of this Bhil tribe, which is known as Ghumar. Okay, then Ghumar is also a symbol of femininity in this region. So these young women take art in this dance and declare that they are stepping into women's shoes. ठीक है, तो ये जो धाम है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट धाम है, याद रख सकते हो, बिकॉज इट इज टुडे बेसिकली न्यूज, क्योंकि यहाँ पे मोदी और प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी कॉल्ड फॉर अ रोड मैप टू डेवलप दिस टू बी अ वेरी फेवरेट ट्राइबल डेस्टिनेशन, जहाँ पे टूरिज्म भी हम लोग को बढ़ सकता है. वी कुड इवन रिलेट दिस एरिया थ्रू सम ऑफ द कल्चरल वीज. ठीक है, चलो नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं. इन्वेजिव ट्री इन मुदुमली टाइगर रिजर्व. ठीक है, तो टुडे इट्स recent news directly coming on that is an invasive species which is known as Senna spectabilis. ये देख सकते हो यहाँ पे, which is basically an invasive species. तो ये has taken over, this species has taken over an area of 800 hectares and 1200 hectares in the buffer zone of this Mudumalai tiger reserves, which is basically in this Nilgiri hill district. Okay, so what is this invasive species? So ये जो Senna spectabilis है, which was introduced in India as an ornamental species and is used as firewood from South and Central America. So this plant has become an invasive alien species in parts of Africa, India, and some of the other ASEAN countries. So the thick foliage of these trees arrest the growth of the other indigenous trees and also the grass species, and hence it causes food shortages for the wildlife population, especially the herbivores, that is the people, or that is the animals who are basically dependent on plants for their respective food habits. And it also affects the germination and the growth of the native species, which is basically native to this region. तो इसीलिए ये इनका बढ़ना ये एक इन्वेजिव एलिमेंट है, एक एलियन स्पीसीज का एलिमेंट का एक इंटीग्रेशन है, where we cannot find the native species growing in this respect. तो ये जो मुदुमलाई टाइगर रिजर्व्स है, it is basically located in this Nilgiri district of Tamil Nadu, which is spread across an area of around 321 kilometers square. ओके, और ये जो मुदुमलाई टाइगर रिजर्व है, इट्स बेसिकली एट अ ट्राई पॉइंट, यहाँ पे देख सकते हो, इट्स बेसिकली एट द ट्राई जंक्शन ऑफ दिस थ्री स्टेट्स, बेसिकली कर्नाटका, केरला एंड तमिलनाडु. Okay, and it also forms a part of the Nilgiris Biosphere Reserve. Okay, that is the first biosphere reserve in India, which was declared around in 1986. Okay, it has a common boundary with the Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, देख सकते हो यहाँ पे Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary के हम लोग डायरेक्टली यहाँ पे एक बॉर्डर करते हैं. ठीक है, बेसिकली इन द वेस्ट वी कैन सी वन बंदीपुर टाइगर रिजर्व बेसिकली इन कर्नाटका. ओके, तो ये यहाँ पे डायरेक्टली एक बॉर्डर शेयर करते हैं. So the reserve has tall grasses which are commonly known as the elephant grasses, okay, which are basically very important grass variety basically found in this region. Okay, so this region has basically a wide variety of more than 260 species of birds, and around 80% of the bird species found in India are recorded in this region of Mudumalai. तो ये बहुत ज़्यादा densely varied region है, और basically ये forming a part of the Western Ghats also. So ये बहुत एक important areas है, also basically forms a part of the biodiversity hotspots of our country. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए ये जो स्पेसीज आया है इसके लिए यहाँ पे चिंता का विषय चल रहा है अभी. नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं, इंडियन एयरक्राफ्ट इंडस्ट्री. सो टुडे इवन प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी he laid the foundation stone of this C295 aircraft manufacturing plant in Vadodara in Gujarat, okay, of the Tata Airbus consortium that will manufacture the transport aircraft for the Indian Air Force. And it is the very first project of its kind in which a military aircraft will be manufactured in India by a private company. And it is also very first time that this C295 aircraft will be manufactured outside of Europe, because ये basically कहाँ का था Airbus, यूरोप का ही था. So this C295 aircraft is a new generation tactical airlifter in the light and medium segment, and it is manufactured by the Airbus Defence and Space in Spain. ठीक है, और ये equipped कैसे होता है? Two Pratt and Whitney engines. And what is the purpose of this C295? It can carry troops and logistical supplies from main airfields to forward operating airfields of the country. And it can also operate on short unprepared airstrips, as it is capable of short takeoff and landing. Okay, so therefore we could see that this aircraft is a very important aircraft. Lekin basically today we could see that India is having the C295 aircraft manufacturing facility in India, and through this we could enhance the concept of our made in India, because the domestic defense manufacturing ecosystem will directly get a boost, as this project will lead the development of a strong private industrial aerospace ecosystem, not only in and around Vadodara, but across the country. So today we know that India has a much bigger footprint in civil aviation manufacturing sector. So both Airbus and Boeing do significant sourcing from India for their civil programs. For instance, if I say that Boeing source from India stands at around 1 billion annually, which is over 60% in manufacturing. So similarly, if I see about Lockheed Martin has joint ventures with even some of the agencies or some of the companies of basically province in Hyderabad. So hence today, India has the world's fastest growing aviation sector, and it is about to reach the top 3 countries in the world in terms of air traffic. तो इसीलिए अभी फिलहाल के लिए अगर हम लोग ये इंडस्ट्री हम लोग अगर इक्विप करें, अगर हम लोग इंडिजिनियसली प्रोड्यूस करें, अगर हम लोग मेक इन इंडिया पे ज्यादा फोकस करें, देन इन टुडेज टाइम पीरियड obviously we could produce more and more number of our indigenous aeroplanes, indigenous aircrafts and everything associated with defense as well as civilian purposes. तो इसीलिए मोदी जी C29 एयरक्राफ्ट के द्वारा यहाँ पे जब लॉन्च किया गया है, it will very much help for the indigenous production of our defense requirements. ठीक है, चलो नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं. ड्रग शॉर्टेज इन श्रीलंका. तो वी ऑल नो अबाउट द श्रीलंकन क्राइसिस. तो यहाँ पे अभी क्या हो रहा है, जो इन लोग का फार्मास्यूटिकल आइटम्स है, तो ड्रग्स है, तो क्योर वेरियस नंबर ऑफ डिजीजेस आल्सो, इट इज वेरी मच इन लॉस. ओके, यहाँ पे अभी टोटली करप्ट सिस्टम, ड्रग्स का सप्लाई बहुत कम हो रहा है, बिकॉज दे नो, we know that 80% of the drug supply to Sri Lanka is via some of the other countries. Basically imports पे ये लोग रहते हैं, और हम लोग तो 50-60% तो हम लोग ही ले लेते हैं. ठीक है, so we know about that today Sri Lanka, which is around a country of around 22 million people, is under a grip of this unprecedented economic turmoil, which leads to various number of political and economical instabilities. Hundreds of anti-government protesters directly stormed into the Sri Lankan president's residence demanding his resignation. So we could see about that even various number of economic factors, be it the newly led government by the Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2019, who promised some of the lower taxes rate. Okay, so iske liye some of the problems have made. Then we can see about this eastern bomb blast of April 2019, okay, which led to around 253 casualties, consequently dropping the number of tourists shopping, leading to a decline in their foreign exchange reserves. Okay, then we could see about the sudden movement of Sri Lanka towards organic farming, because हम लोग देखे थे कि all fertilizers imports were completely banned, and it was declared that Sri Lanka would become a 100% organic farming nation overnight. So the overnight shift to organic fertilizers have very much impacted the food production of this country. Also, there is a China's debt trap policy, because Sri Lanka borrowed heavily from Beijing since 2005, and it also leads its Hambantota port to a Chinese company in 2017. Okay, after it failed to deliver them with some around $1.4 billion debt. So अगर मैं आज देखूं तो श्रीलंकन total debt to China stands at $8 billion. Okay, which is almost 1/6 of its total external debt. So therefore, today we could see that there is a current political vacuum who cannot take some of the broad decisions to save their economy. और इसीलिए आज यहाँ पे श्रीलंका के साथ क्या हो रहा है? They are facing a good number of drug shortages. Okay, और ये drug shortage भाई कभी बात नहीं है. They are even losing their tea markets. Okay, because tea supply भी कम होते जा रहा है. They are losing their clothing market. So in that respective purpose, we could see that यहाँ पे drug shortage होना आम बात है. ठीक है? So therefore, even India is directly coming and helping out Sri Lanka because India का एक approach है which is known as the neighborhood first policy, which is to cement bonds with the neighbors. Okay, so that the neighbors could realize its potential to reap the rewards of a stable, friendly neighborhood. Also, India यहाँ पे help कर रहा है so as to because Sri Lanka is directly approaching the International Monetary Fund, who can support to overcome the current economic crisis in India, and therefore यहाँ पे एक bailout options मांग रहे. Here even India is directly helping. Okay, so over here we could even see that Sri Lanka today also needs to implement a democracy in true spirit, because अगर वहाँ पे democracy in true spirit नहीं बैठाया गया तो in the future times we can see again such number of conditions may do occur in the coming times. ठीक है, so that's the things about the shortage in Sri Lanka. Lastly, saying about the weakest link in air pollution fight. So we know that the India's frontline environmental regulators, that is the state pollution control boards as well as the pollution control committees in the union territories, are not working as per their respective mandates. Okay, and that is the one of the biggest reason that a key environmental indicators worsening across India. And over the years, what I have seen that several reports have came which said about that the reasons for their poor performance, just because we could see that they are not getting funded, they do not have got power, they do not have got good regulations. And in a recently published series of papers by the Center for Policy Research, we find that many of these regions continue to afflict the state pollution control boards. So we know that this SPCB, which was initially constituted under the Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act of 1974 and also under the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1981, their mandate was to expand to even the air quality management. And subsequently, we could see that several new environmental regulations also get added down to their roles and functions. And unfortunately, this enhancement mandate has not been matched with their increasing capacity and capability to control such number of boards with terms with the air quality. And as environmental indicators such as air quality and water quality worsen in many parts of the country, the boards are evidently failing to effectively discharge their statutory mandate. So today we could see that there are some of the key institutional constraints under which this state pollution control boards functions. We can see that there is some of the unscientific composition, because the stakeholders, who are basically the chairperson, secretary, members, they do not have any idea associated with the day-to-day functioning of the organization. And over 50% of the board members across this institution represents potential polluters. Okay, basically the local authorities, industries, and public sector companies. And at the same times, we could see that scientists, medical practitioners, and academic constitutes only 7% of the board members. बाकी सब क्या है? वही political वाले, वही जो company चलाते हैं, वही जो local authorities है, वही सब है. And they do not meet at a very regular interval. Okay, so at least 2 बार मिलना चाहिए members को. लेकिन फिर भी we could not see that they will at least meet once. So यहाँ पे leadership का totally एक failure है. जो स्टाफ है जो कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं वो स्टाफ का भी वैकेंसी है, बिकॉज अगर मैं बोलूं एटलीस्ट 40% ऑफ दिस सैंक्शन पोस्ट आर लाइंग वेकेंट, एंड दिस वैकेंसी इज सो मच दैट इन स्टेट्स लाइक झारखंड, इन स्टेट्स लाइक हरियाणा, इन स्टेट्स लाइक बिहार, जहां पे हम लोग का सबसे ज्यादा पोल्यूशन होता है, 84 to 90% ऑफ द सीट्स आर डायरेक्टली वेकेंट. है ही नहीं स्टाफ. तो देयरफॉर इनएडिक्वेट स्टाफ फ्रेंड faces the boards to recast their priorities amongst their various functions. And this has significant implications on pollution's regulation, which resulted in initiation of various number of violations, and thereby the air quality index and even pollution not getting prioritized. So now what should be done? See, given the scale and causes of the air pollution in India, we should take some of the multidisciplinary expertise is very much needed, and we have to go for a level of approach. So there should be explicit focus on health while designing an air pollution policy. And the lack of expertise and skewed representation of the stakeholders of the board needs to be very much restricted. Isko restrict karna chahiye, because these are directly posing an hindrance towards the development of such categories of air pollution. So if this state pollution control boards are challenged in executing routine tasks, even now, how can we expect them to rapidly evolve to meet some of the new challenges coming in the future? So substantially, we should have greater support, and investments are very much required to help them act as they were intended to do. And in that way, if they can act, we can surely see that in some period of time, this will be very much of refined, and this could even monitor the air quality index of our respective cities. ठीक है, तो यही यहाँ दो राइटर्स के द्वारा बताया गया है, okay, कि how this could be tackled and how this two institutions could be improved better so as to make India's air quality index better. ठीक है, चलो, तो ये था अपना editorial analysis. So we have this 5 MCQs. Please do attempt these MCQs. The answers you will get in tomorrow's PDF. Okay. Also do join our WhatsApp as well as the Telegram channel for further updates. So thank you for today and Jai Hind.